once the deal was announced, once the deal was closed in November of 2015, I mean, that's when the real action was starting. What you do now is, of course, you integrate. As the first priority, we said we have to set a strategic direction. This was basically how do we work on our core business? How do we integrate? And then how do we build the strategic initiatives for the future to continue to outpace the market? In integration, we broke it up into three parts. We said you must create value with this integration. So what's the approach to do it? Number two, how do you build and stabilize the organization? And third is, how do you stabilize the processes? Right? What is our plan to do that? Let's start with value. I think retrospectively you can look at this and you can say there's a lot of value that's been created with the deal. But prospectively we said we want to first focus on stabilizing the existing business, focus on the customers, and we had very detailed metrics here where we created a war room and we looked at our customer service and our customer delivery rates. Second, we said focus on the revenue synergies. What are the revenue synergies that we see with the deal? And the first one was we wanted to put all our EMD Millipore products onto sigmaaldrich.com, which was the e-commerce platform. We wanted to, in Asia and Latin America, take all the Sigma products and make sure all the customers there had them quickly. So we wanted to create momentum in the revenue synergy side. And third, on the cost side, we had a very detailed program. And the cost targets were cascaded down into the organization, and we looked at it every month. Right? And so there was a very regimented process to manage that. And when you look at the deal in retrospect, I mean, basically we've outpaced the market since we announced the deal. Our margins are now 400 to 500 basis points higher than the next competitor. And our innovation intensity is now two and a half times of what it was when we started this process. So in retrospect, some of those things appear to work. Secondly, the organizational part, I already mentioned we wanted to be quick, but we really had three principles there. We said we wanted to make sure that we were transparent. We were telling people, look, this is the information we have, and we're going to tell you everything. We're going to be transparent and we're going to be quick. Right? So you'll have all the information that we have as within reason. Second, we said we will be decisive. That we will just not keep sitting on decisions if we can make them fast. And a case in point here is for a 20,000 person organization, by April 1st of 2016, the organization was designed and implemented. And then thirdly, we said we will carry everything out of respect, right? And by respect, I mean we would treat people equally. There was no acquirer and there was no acquired. And this is really important to keep in mind. And even from a personal perspective, right? So I had just taken over the job as head of EMD Millipore. I was neither Millipore nor Sigma, right? I was a hybrid. And I think that showed in the decisions we made. So for the top 150, we did an assessment of one person from Sigma and one person from Merck KGaA for each position. And this was carried out in that time frame from November to April when the deal was announced. When you bring these organizations together, you can actually create a lot of momentum by harmonizing processes and governance, right? And it's a pretty important lever. In our case, we implemented governance processes where my team would get together once a month, and we of course had the executive kind of administrative topics, and this is called the life science executive team that takes these decisions. Second, we then had a bunch of subcommittees. The first one was on innovation, called the Innovation Board, which I chaired, and we looked at innovation across the organization. Sigma, Merck, it was a great learning experience for me as well to really review the innovation that was happening in the organization. Third was an ops committee, which was initially chaired by me and then later by our head of integrated supply chain operations. This was to ensure that we were in supply chain executing properly and we were harmonizing processes. And you needed executive oversight and executive alignment in the early stages of the integration. And then finally, we had something called the deal review committee, where we wanted to make sure that whatever we were doing in this deal was being managed and examined day in, day out, and we were on target. So those were the governance elements that we put together. We implemented all the processes for global functions from the parent. So HR systems, compensation systems, procurement systems. But we decided to keep IT separate. You see, one of the biggest value drivers for this deal was an e-commerce platform. And we said we did not have a great e-commerce platform. So we did not know what good looked like. So the first thing we said is, look, we will create a lot of value, but we will keep these two organizations separate while we observe. We integrated and harmonized processes in many different areas, including global functions, including the governance, but we left IT separate.